talk about, or you found a survey about sitting. We sit for 4 hours a day. Should I be worried?
So the question was, I think the survey said, well, how much sedentary time potentially translates into negative health?
Right.
And there were kind of three different buckets. One was, if you're only sitting a total of 4 hours a day in your show, and the rest of the time you're up and around, the answer to your question, should you be worried? No, they didn't find that was associated with health. What they found was associated with bad health, and especially bad outcomes from a cardiovascular, that means heart attack and stroke standpoint, is people who are sedentary more than 10 or 10 and a half hours a day. And
That's
you say,
a long
wow, that's
sitting.
a lot. But if you talk about somebody who has a desk job, they sit for 8 hours.
Right.
And then they go home, and let's say they watch the Cardinals game for another, some of these games last 3-some hours.
Right.
You're 11 hours, right?
Right.
And so if you're on your rear for that amount of time, that's what they're talking about.
And
That's
so-
a lot of inactivity.
That is a lot of inactivity. So what does that mean? That means get out and do something.
Well, there's the study did not address the solution, so we can only kind of speculate and hypothesize. One of the new fads and trends that might be an exciting solution is having the stand-up desk.
Yeah.
So instead of having that chair, there's a lot of stand-up workstations where people can kind of get those. And instead of having a job where you sit, you're standing more of the time.
Right.
And in that way, that might obviate some of that sedentary concept. That
So
we're trying to do.
if you just stand, that's better than sitting.
Probably is.
Yeah.
Probably is.
And for what length of time for this study can it start to do damage? Years or?
Unknown, because the problem with these types of studies is they look for kind of large-scale associations, right? So they take surveys and they ask, Kelly, on average, how many hours a day are you seated? And you check a box, right? So they don't ask anything more specific than that. And then they collect, 10,000 different surveys from different people like you, and then they start kind of trying to figure out, well, what's associated with what?
Right.
So the specifics in terms of, well, what exactly is going on, we can't answer with that kind of stuff.
I did have an old boss who, when he had meetings, he took all the chairs out of the meeting. Not necessarily to keep us sitting there, but to make the meeting shorter.
Yeah,
Because if you're
absolutely.
standing,
Absolutely.
if you're standing, people talk less and they want to move on with their world. All right, let's talk fish oil, doctor. Is fish oil good, bad? What's going on with fish oil?
Well, fish oil, I think we universally believe is good. I think the devil's in the details. So the absolute best kind of fish oil is actually real fish.
Shocking.
So the fish, but highly problematic for the state of Missouri because we're not really big fish consumers in this state.
Right.
I used to have a rule that I tried not to eat things that traveled farther than I did to get to the restaurant. It's hard to get fish that meets that category in St. Louis. Fortunately, that we have great shipping and that kind of thing.
Eating a lot of catfish, I guess.
We're eating a lot of catfish. So fresh fish, especially the fatty fishes like cod and salmon, even sardines, for those people who are sardines lovers. These are the fish that are the most rich in what we call omega-3 fatty acids, those things that are really healthy. And the populations where we learn this from around the world are those that eat this routinely. 2-3 times a week. So regular fish 2-3 times a week. That's
I eat
absolutely
3 times
the best.
a week fish.
That's
easily.
absolutely the best.
Okay, but
Now, what if you're a meat lover and you just can't stand fish? Can omega-3 fatty acids or fish oil supplements that are on every shelf in every drugstore, is that a reasonable surrogate? It's probably pretty good.
Really?
It's probably not as good as Kelly's diet.
Right.
But it's probably better than nothing.
Right.
So, and that's a big story in Time Magazine from this week.
So you would say eating or having some type of omega-3 fatty acid from a fish is not a bad thing to take every once in a while.
Correct.
Yeah.
And you probably want to take it regularly.
Yeah.
Now, the footnote to that, or the caveat, the big asterisk, or the small print on the bottom of the screen, this is not a cure-all. All right, so this is not something where you say, well, I'm taking my fish oil. That means that I can do other things.
Right.
So that doesn't give you like a free pass.
I had my
to
fish
kinda
oil
take
so
a
I can
break.
go eat 7 pizzas tonight.
Right.
That
Yeah.
just cancels it
All right,
out.
but what about now? You want to work with the Catholic Church?
I do.
Tell us this story.
I think, I have a regret every spring. So every time Lent comes around, and usually and I'm Catholic, so I think you're inbred with this guilt thing. so every Ash Wednesday comes around, and since I've moved to St. Louis from Michigan, I have regret that I have not figured out a way to work with a church parish to find a heart-healthy Lent. And so the biggest thing in St. Louis is the fish fry during Lent.
Right.
When we're talking about Lent, it's
Sure.
clearly the dog days of summer, so it's a long way away. But
Right.
everybody wants to have a fish fry. The problem with the fish fry is 2 things. Number one is we kind of leach a lot of the fatty acids out of the fish when we put it in the hot oil and we fry it. And then number 2 is we add the bad fats on top of it when we actually fry it. So, that's not a reasonable surrogate for the type of fish we're talking about.
So you would love to get with a Catholic Church and try and help them with their fish fry and make it a healthy Lenten experience.
We want a heart-healthy Lent. So
that.
we want baked fish. We want heart-healthy fish.
Broiled.
Yeah,
How about that?
absolutely.
All right, so there. You can get a hold of me. You can get a hold of Dr. Lim at. Well, get a hold of us, and we'll pass it along
We're
to you
going to be
guys.
healthier and better off.
There you
Yes.
go. Dr. Michael Lim, always a pleasure. SLU Care and SSM Healthcare cardiologist. Thank you very much for your
All
time.
right. Stay cool.
You got it. 827 here, Big 550.